If you know the calling of Moses, Moses was called because of the groanings of his people. Exodus 2, 23 to 24. It says he was called of God on the backside of the desert. We always talk about the backside of the desert, but God was getting ready to prepare him. And how many know after he discovered the call, some things transpired. And let me just say to you, this ministry exists solely for one reason. Why? It's for the people, but it's because of the groanings in this region that have gone up as an evening sacrifice to the Lord. That's the only reason. It ain't because I decided to take it upon myself. This is not an honor I take upon myself. It is said in Hebrews 3, no man takes his honor upon himself. You know, that's not something we need to do or try to do. As I learned a long time ago, you know, if you're not called, you dare not lead. And if you were called, you dare not lead. I know that went over your head. A lot of people looking for certain reasons for to be in this position, but I'm here to tell you the only reason to be here, the only reason I study, the only reason that I listen to the Spirit of God, the only reason that I walk circumspectly in character and integrity and submitted to the hand of God, that I'm consistent in how I integrate certain aspects of what I'm gleaning from God and experiencing from God, and somehow trying to communicate it to this house or this region now that we have an opportunity through YouTube and other vehicles. It's because of the people. Because of what he wants to do in the spiritual climate in this city. That's why God raises up ministers and ministries and leaders and put a ladder in a region. That ladder that Jacob saw, where the angels descend and ascend. Well, they actually ascend and descend in a region so that God can use it as an entry point to the region. You know what I mean? And so we got to understand that's what he does. And you can see in Matthew 9:35 to Matthew 10 and 4. I was going to go over there, but even Jesus knew, and he saw and seen the condition of his people. Am I right? Let's go to Matthew 9. Come on, I ain't going to get it. I'm trying to get to some meat. I'm going to walk you through it so you can see it for yourself. So ministry only exists for the groaning of the people. If you can't answer a cry, you ain't going to have a message. God gives you a message to answer a cry. There's a deficit in the city, and God wants you to target it. The deficit over this city, I know what it was. I thought it was deliverance, but it's ignorance. It's religious strongholds that need to be brought down. It's systemic failure as it relates to how to administrate apostolic government, how the kingdom is to function in the region. Matthew 9:35, let's look and see what Jesus did. It says, and Jesus went about all the cities and villages, doing what? Teaching in their synagogues, their churches, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But look, but once he saw the workload, that's my paraphrase. Am I right? He said, oh, hold on a second. This little old me is just me. Little old me, y'all probably say that's blasphemy. No, that's what he was saying. He said, oh, I can't do all this. I'm preaching, I'm teaching, I'm prophesying, I'm laying hands, I'm having altar calls. He was moved with what? Compassion on them. You can't be in leadership without compassion. The greatest component for leaders is compassion. Nothing worse than having someone who wants to be in a position of leadership that don't have compassion. Empathy. Because when you don't have it, that means you can't be bent. You can't be shaped. You can't be forged. Because when the pressure comes, you're going to leave because it's not for the people. It's self-intoxicating. I know people want leadership. They long for it. Even though you ask them, they say they don't. They do. all of the signs points towards they're headed that way. Yeah. And it says compassion on them. And why did he have compassion? Because they fainted and scattered abroad. Because they didn't have a sheep. Because they had a bastard system over them. The Pharisees, Sadducees, the whole Sanhedrin system was a bastard system. It couldn't discern the ways of God. Couldn't lead the people into the ways of God. By the time Jesus showed up, they had 613 commandments. And I think it's 500 and something wasn't even his. So they added to the scriptures. Mm-hmm. Stuff like Corbin. it says you're supposed to take care of your father and mother. They say, Corbin! Which meant you get a pass. You ain't got to take care of your mom and dad. He had compassion on them because they were fainted. They were disgusted. They had no internal fortitude. That's what it means to faint. They had no momentum. They had no vision. They had no perspective. They had no insight. Because why? Because they didn't have a shepherd. When you have a shepherd, you shouldn't scatter. Do I scatter? Yeah, you do. Everybody does. If the message is not manifesting, you scatter. You're divided. To scatter means to be divided. To scatter means there's no loyalty. There's no allegiance. There's no cleaving. This house has a shepherd. Shepherds, what you're going to see, which is the leadership board. So we shouldn't be scattered. The level of consistency in our life should be a witness to what we're receiving. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 15 that as I have received of the Lord, so I give unto you. He knew that the people are a testimony of the ministry that's received. See, we used to sit under ministry or being exposed to ministry. But see, somebody can tell you, you're not an employee. You're a shareholder. Shareholders, hey, they get quarterly reports. Am I right? They know if you're in the red or in the black. They know the condition of that particular corporation. Am I right? When you're an employee, you don't care. Come on, man, you don't care about nothing. You come in, I'm 9 to 5, 5:01, I'm out. Come on. About me and mine. You don't have a vested interest in that company succeeding. Shareholders know. Board members, they know. Because they might have stocks and bonds. Because where their heart is, your treasure will be also. But you know. They divested themselves in the well-being of that particular company. And I'm here to tell you, if you're part of REM, you're not an employee. You're a shareholder. Paul said we're joint heirs. And we got to act that way. When things are not right, when things are not at an optimum capacity, we got to tell ourselves, why not? And it's not for us to hold it over the set man or the CEO. Tell them, what is it? It's for you to go in prayer. Ask God why. So we need to get to the point. So what did he do? He said they had no shepherd. So that's what he said. He said, then said he unto his disciples, those 12, including the devil, he said that the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. The problem is plenteous, but the solutionists are few. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The scattered are plenteous, But the shepherds, the examples, the leaders are few. Then he said, pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. He's talking to the religious system. Then he comes up with an idea in the next chapter, because when you see and, it's a conjunction. So chapter 9 is not over. And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out, to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. The very things that he did in chapter 9 and verse 35. Right? So whatever he did, they did. Then he gives the name of them. And not only were they disciples, then he says, now the names of the 12 apostles. So he even gave them an assignment. Not just trained them up, raised them up. Steward the gift and grace. Why did he bring it up? Because I'm here to tell you, leaders are important. When there's a dissolution of focus in a church or a city, God has to somehow go within a body, in a city, and then bring a set people up out of the ashes, out of the dunghill, to bring them into a level of visibility. Right? So I'm going to talk about what he does, because, you know, in this age and time, we're in a season that everything is being deconstructed. Anybody ever heard that word? Everybody did deconstructing. They got a book out called The Old No's, because this group of people, it was a movement that people said, I'm not never going in the building anymore. Thank God. I'm just saying that because we don't need that. I ain't saying thank God got it right. I'm just saying, if you got that attitude, do us a favor. Because you're going to start doing nothing but trouble.